Hey guys, welcome to the live stream. We are installing the subfloor finally. So yesterday, if you guys caught the live stream, we actually talked about some electrical things. And so we had to go through the system, check our wiring sizes, couple it with the load of all the components in our van. And then we went through, got the right fuse sizing and all that good stuff, and we put it into a chart. So make sure you guys check out that video. I think it's going to be really helpful if you've never tried to size the wire and find the appropriate fuse for your circuitry. So we did that. So we finalized everything in here, and it's good to use it as a checklist because, believe it or not, I went through and was prepping everything this morning to go ahead and get this live stream set up and the floor glued down, and the max fan cable. I did not run the max fan cable, so I went, put it through the ceiling, came straight down our pillar, put it into the floor here, and now we have 9 circuits. So our 9 circuits were right almost maxed out of our max amps that we can pull out of our sub panel, which is the max is 60, and I think we're up to 55 amps right now. That's with everything running full out at the exact same time. All right, we are going to get our piece of wood and bring it into the van, and then we're just gonna get this thing glued in. I've got a couple of tools over here I'm gonna show you guys, but I'm gonna put this rear one in first so we can walk on it and gather our tools, and then we'll bring in the piece we're actually gonna glue in today and keep on going. But remember, the chat is open in the live stream. Feel free to ask any questions that you guys have. It can be anything van related, does not have to be all about the van floor. And as I'm bringing these pieces in, they're going to be painted green on the bottom. There's no reason that they're painted green on the bottom. But when you just need some paint, you can go to Lowe's, and they have some paint that either didn't sell or, customer returned or something like that. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's half price, I found. So we don't care about the color because we're going to be gluing this down. So the green color of this, and it's on the bottom. So we're just going to put this piece back in here. We took this out because we needed to modify a couple of edges on it, and then we also obviously painted it green. So we're going to put this here, but then make sure you shift it all the way forward so that we can line this back panel. You want to glue in, if you do a 3-panel system like this, you want to put the middle one in first. Not only is it good because the front and rear will reference off of it, but we have these aluminum bars in here, and we want to make sure that these aluminum bars, these pins get aligned for the pull-out tray. So this will be kind of the home position for the floor, and then we'll bump up the back, and then we'll bump up the front, and then we'll bump up the back. If you can imagine, if you put the front one in, and you're off a little bit, and then the second one's off, then your rear one obviously will be off. So if you can get your middle one right, the front and back will just come right in line. All right, for this next one, we'll bring the next panel, we'll just set it up over here because we need to prep this for glue, our adhesive. Now, when we do the adhesive, we do not want to do it as thick as what we did for the floor. The floor was to make up for some gaps that we had because we had about a 1/16 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch difference in some areas of the floor depending on where the floor sat. So for this one, let's see here. So you can see we got painted green on the bottom. So now, let's see the best way to pop this in here. So I'm upside down. And the reason I painted this is this is a sanded ply flooring. And you can't get flooring that has properties in it for like mold prevention. But I went ahead and it took me 2 seconds to paint this. I painted it, and this is a outdoor paint that has mold preventative built into it. So anywhere that moisture might get to, we have the wood sealed, but it also has a mold preventative inside, so we don't have to really worry about that. The top one is bare because it's going to receive the bonding primer for our epoxy floor. That's just to ensure that we get a really good bond. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get our new toy, which is this Milwaukee caulk gun. I've never used it before, so it might be interesting seeing how it works. We need our 4 bolts here so that we can line up our floor before it fully settles in. Let's put those there. We're probably just going to use 1 tube of the PL Marine Fast Cure. We got another one just in case. And then on this back side, we have a drill. We have a 5/64 drill bit. We have number 10 1 1/4 sheet metal screws. Now these sheet metal screws do not self-tap. I'll explain that in a minute. And they have a coarser thread. And that has to do with because we have a thin wall piece of aluminum. And I found that the finer threads were stripping. So in hindsight, yes, I would get the thicker gauge aluminum tubing. It's not really a deal breaker because the only reason that we have this floor, these aluminum pieces in here, is to make sure that we don't get that seam over time, as well as distribute the load from this tray over here that we got in the van. And then we need a countersink bit, so that way we can countersink our sheet metal screws into the wood. And we're probably going to only use maybe 4 or 5 screws. But we got time, so after we come down here, we can actually sit on the board and take our time drilling those holes into here. And if you guys remember, we put these in here so that the seam doesn't have that little bubble, that little hump that happens over time. Because after expansion and contraction all the time, that floor may move, and I just don't want that. We did not glue these in, so we'll need to actually put a couple dots of glue here before we lay our floor down. So this will be the first thing we do, and we'll get this lined up. Same thing here. We'll take this out. So we'll go ahead and do that first. And then when we do our glue, we're just going to do some lines around the edges, a little bit, maybe 3 things in the middle. We don't have to go crazy with this glue like we did the other one. So let's get going. We get a razor and a rag so we can wipe off the nozzle. Keep everything all nice and clean. So this Milwaukee, this is the M12, so this is not the M18. I like the M12 line because I use the M12 for the grinder where I cut out the ribs before I cut the windows out. And it's just nice to have smaller tools sometimes instead of the big, chunky DeWalt stuff that I've got. This Milwaukee tool also has an auto drip feature. Or auto drip, anti-drip feature. So I'm gonna go pick up the battery. That's interesting. So when you push the reverse, it doesn't auto reverse, it just releases this so you pull it back. I guess that's a good thing. I guess it wouldn't make sense to automatically go back. All right, so this should actually be a pretty cool thing here. Yeah, I don't know how it's supposed to sound, so give me a minute. There you go. Oh, this is very nice. All right, that's not bad. The auto drip feature, it's okay, but it might be messing up because of the way I'm using it. So, okay. So that looks good. Go ahead and sit these in here. And if you notice, we used our little slash marks. That way we can take this, we took this out, and then we can still make sure that we line everything up properly. All right, that's going to work really good. So what I'm doing is I'm walking on this other piece of this floor over here, and I just want to make sure that this sound will not happen after I put down this floor. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to actually put this down. So I think we were just rubbing up against the van. All right, let's put a couple beads down and we'll see how we're doing here. Yeah, this is gonna make us go through a tube really quick. I did not think it would be this. Might be a good thing. So we can change the speed settings on here. See if we go down to 3. Oh no, that ain't gonna work. Okay, let's get another tube here. And then when you hit the release button, you just pull straight back and it'll come out of the tube. So I'm gonna have to disassemble this after we're done to clean it out because, yeah, our tube malfunctioned. Look at this. So look at this. Man, that sucks. Well, I've got to clean this up. So that's what happens when the tube doesn't work. All right. So we go back to our caulk gun. Let me go grab it. Put some gloves on for this one. Well, it was nice while it lasted. I'm probably going to trowel this down a little bit because it's just way too much. You don't want that thick of a layer because it's going to get the floor too high and you're going to have like these air pockets. So we don't want that. All right. Going back to plan A. We're going to make sure we have this right here on the back. So that's how thin I wanted it. I did not want it to be as thick as this over here. Yeah, the manual caulk gun actually is much easier. So that just may have not been the right application for that, you know? Yeah, I think we just need to knock down those high spots and we'll be all right. Somebody get something to knock down those high spots and we'll put the floor in. I think I can use denatured alcohol to clean up that gun, but that kind of sucks for the first time using it. Yeah. Yeah, we're just gonna knock down all these high spots. Yeah, because it put a ton of caulk over here. So see right there, that was a piece we don't want on the floor. Yeah, once we put on the weight on the floor, it's going to knock all this stuff down. We just do not want these high spots. Yeah, so I'm going to definitely change up my method after this. Okay, excellent. All the high spots are knocked down. And we are good to go. So let's go ahead and, now that everything's knocked down, thin, and so I hope you guys get the reason that I'm knocking it down is because we use the thickness to level the foam, but we don't need that because it's already level. So trust me, and you want as much surface area contact because any place that may be foam with no adhesive, if it's not close to another place that does have adhesive, could make a noise. So, okay. Well, that's good. It's not super fast cure, but we need to get this floor down. So now the priority is to make sure that it is really tacky right now. So we need to make sure that we get our alignment bolts in. And that really is the first priority. So before we actually push it down, let's go ahead and get those and put them through the hole. And then from there we can shift it wherever we want to. Okay, looks good there. I'm gonna take this glove off because it's got stuff on it. Let's see how we're doing here. Now remember, we don't want our back piece of wood to influence this piece. So let's see where we're looking over here. And let's check our back seam. Perfect. This line is perfect. Okay, now we can actually stand on it, dance on it, whatever you want to do. We're going to start from the middle and then just go to the outside. Now we want to work pretty quick because as soon as I get these bolts in, back here, we need to make sure we have some weight on it. So I'm going to go ahead and get some weight. Tire change, brake rotors, that's what I use. I've got heavier stuff, but we'll put that on after we do our, after we drill our holes over here. So this one, need a little bit more weight on that side. Everything else looks really good. All right, let's get a piece of aluminum tape measure. We're going to use the aluminum to just trace out a line. Correct. There is no screws through the floor. Now the issue I had with this board, though, you guys can maybe you can see how it's got a crown to it. It's just in a perfect world, you can have a perfectly air-conditioned shop and the wood's not going to bow on you. But the goal is to, as soon as you can get the wood from, like, say, your Lowe's or your hardware store, cut it and install it. I mean, in a perfect world, you could do it same day, but we know we don't live in the perfect world. But if you can do it all in the same day, that you want to do that, because over time, the board is going to warp naturally over time, and that's going to create this problem. So to alleviate this problem, I actually need to have I'm using the spare tire from this van and some more weight, and I'm putting it on the center and smushing it down. So you'll see me do that here in just a little bit. But now I'm just tracing making a pin mark so I can know where my piece of aluminum is. Since I'm countersinking, nothing has to be perfect, but I'm just going to come and I'm going to put a screw here, put a screw right here at the end, right here, and then I'll do one in the middle, and I'll do one in the middle here. And so I'm going to countersink these. And the cool thing about the Lonzo epoxy is it's really thick. It gets thick very quick, so you can just trowel it over any dip in this, and then when you do the roller, it's going to make any of that stuff indistinguishable. But we're going to start with the middle and then work our way out. So I'll make sure I'm still on camera. So the floor is held down by the adhesive, the PL Marine. That's what it's held down by. Because the reason the PL Marine works so well is that it doesn't dry hard. It dries solid, but it's almost like a rubberized. So it can flex and move, and it doesn't rip. So when the van flexes and the chassis flexes, the floor is going to work with it, and it won't pull away from the wood. So, like my Milwaukee caulk gun, my other drills are not working. So I have one drill. So you guys may laugh that I'm going to countersink, I'm going to change a bit, I'm going to drill, and then I'm going to change a bit, and then whatever. I do have 3 drills, but 2 are not working right now, so. And just countersink it and then use the head of your screw to help you determine how deep it needs to go. Deeper is better than shallow, because the whole point is to hide this screw. Okay. So that should work right there. Now this 5/64 bit that I'm using this to cut so we have a screw, right? And then you have threads, and there's if you can kind of think the middle is the shaft. We want that cut out, but we don't want the threads cut out, if that makes sense. The only reason I'm doing this is because these are non-self-tapping threads, but they don't make a non-socket head screw, sheet metal screw, without the tapper at the bottom. And the issue I was having is that the screw size with this 1-inch, the tap would actually touch the bottom, and it makes it tears up the threads. Maybe that'll make sense to you guys. I'm not drilling through the van, just the first layer of the aluminum tube. Do not go through the van. Perfect. That is awesome. Now, when you're tightening this down, you may go, remember it's aluminum, it's soft, so when you feel it sandwich, make sure you immediately stop, because if you keep going, you're going to squeeze it too much, and it's not going to be good. So guess what? This process worked very well. We're doing good. As soon as we get the spare tire and get the rest of this little bubble out of the middle, we're going to be on our way. There's a faster way to put a floor in, but it's much more expensive. So I thought for you guys that this, I think you might like this method. It takes longer. You can kind of see how many days it's taken to. It's mainly me, teaching and getting materials and stuff like that. But if you had to have this all set up in a day, and you had a helper, you could do it. But this is the lowest cost solution. The foam, the peel adhesive, and the floor. That's the best you're going to do that I can see. You can't really buy a floor kit. Floor kits are usually about $2,500. So I think this is a great DIY solution. And you want to put a pretty good amount of pressure because you are cutting into the aluminum. And then when you feel it make that connection, all you got to do is stop. The cool thing is, after all this floor gets laid down, locked down, we can take the orbital sander and we'll sand this just one more time, just lightly, and it'll get that edge even more perfect. Yeah, that's looking really good. Last one. All right, that's it. We've got each one of these counters sunk in. They look really good. And yeah, so we're going to load this up, like I was saying earlier. I'm very happy with the way it sounds. If you do not spread out the adhesive, that is where you're going to get that popping, that floor popping effect. So for example, let's listen to this back panel. Now, okay, if you put the raw wood down and you don't seal it, that noise won't be there. But when you seal it, you can almost think of it like, it's two coated surfaces. You have the insulation and then you have that painted surface. It's kind of tacky, even though that's dried overnight. But this one you can hear, or you can't hear. There's no noise. But now let's listen to this panel over here. You hear that? It's almost like a splintering and cracking. So that's because the painted surface, it's like sticking to the foam. And it's not that the paint is not dry. It's like it's almost like a surface area thing where it's so smooth that when it touches it, it kind of sticks. It's like almost like a cling foam. I mean, a cling wrap or something. But you hear this, right? And then now we have this that we spread. Okay. So make sure you spread the adhesive. All right, I'm gonna stop dancing now. But this one, check this out. Over here, it's quiet. Now hear this right here? So that means we need to really make sure that we put a really good piece of adhesive on there so that we don't get that deflection with the wood. Because this is a high traffic area. This is the place where you walk in the van and you don't want that to be noisy. So if you put, so right here, that's where the foam's deflecting a little bit. So we're gonna make sure we put a lot of adhesive. And I'm gonna stop repeating myself. Let's go. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, Jamie said, how's it held down? It's just adhesive only. Let's see what else. All right. So again, we're going to load this up. I'm going to prep the other panels. We're going to hop off of here. Let me know if you guys have any questions really quick. Let me put the camera right here so I can talk to you guys. Let me turn this brightness down. So we're going to do Q&A here for about another 5 minutes. Let's see. There we go. And I'm going to talk to you about briefly. So if you have questions, ask them right now. And while I'm waiting on those questions, I'll go over what we worked on yesterday, because I've updated it a little bit. So yesterday I created this chart right here. And so what this chart is, these are all of our components that are in the van. These are the operating amps of all those components that are in the 12 volt fuse block. So if you remember, if you watched yesterday, we were talking about this Belusi Systems fuse block right here. The fuses that it uses are ATC, so they're pretty much those ones that, I mean, they're the same thing that you would have like in your car if you needed to work on them. And then we talked about, we labeled what wire size we ran for the components. And then this chart in green is our double check. So if we're operating at 10 amps and we have a 14 gauge wire, a 14 gauge wire means that it can handle up to 15 amps. And so that's kind of our check to be safe. And then we went online and we found a fuse size calculator. And no affiliation, but Explorers.life has a really good one right here. You just put in the device in the amperage, the wire size, and then your voltage of your system. And then it's going to spit out right here the recommended fuse size for that circuit. So this is a little chart. It's good for a DIYer because, one, it gets you familiar with the stuff that's in your van, but then also you can do the most important thing, which is add all these values up and then make sure that this number is not higher than your fuse block. So our fuse block has a maximum of 60 amps. Technically this can do 100, but you know why it's 60? It's 60 because we only ran a 6-gauge wire to it to service it. So 60 is our max, we're at 56, so we're good to go. Now remember, that means that every single one of these items is full bore, maxed out, running as much consumption as it's going to do. That is how you want to size both your components, your wires, for it to be safe. All right, let's see. Will you have to pull that first piece of flooring up, fix a squeak? Oh, so we haven't glued in the first piece of flooring yet. So that squeak will go away once we do the adhesive on it. So what's happening is the squeak is because that board is deflecting. So I may do two things. I may put another piece of the 1/4-inch, what am I trying to say? The lattice on that edge. But what's really making the squeak is that deflection. So if I put another piece of lattice under there, that'll stop the foam from deflecting, and it'll keep the top piece that glues on there from squeaking. So some of the squeaking is from deflection. So when it moves down, the wood, I'm going to make this dramatic. But what's happening is the wood is going over like this. So it's like squeak, squeak. So we can support this, but if we don't spread the adhesive out, then it'll also create that. So we want the foam and the wood to be one. So if it does deflect, it does like that, but it doesn't squeak. So I'll support it. I'll show you how to do that. You guys won't miss anything because I'm going to pause from this, and I got to do something else, and then I'll come back alive and I'll capture that. I might even call it how to fix a squeak in your floor, but we'll support that, explain why it's squeaking, and then we'll install that piece live. So you won't miss that piece being installed. Yeah, so two things create the squeak. The deflection in the floor, that's why we put all those strips in the floor, because if you have any dips, so a squeak happens, if everything is vertical and goes down, there's no squeaks. The squeaks happen when the two surfaces move in this direction. So that top floor squeaking, sliding, kind of sliding over. Yeah, I'm going to see if I can fit a piece of lattice in there, but don't worry, we'll catch it. We'll put it on the live stream. You won't miss anything. All right, let's see here. Last but not least, wanted to talk real quick about the DIY van build cheat sheet. This is an Excel sheet that's highly organized that I've developed. I put it together to organize the last 3 years of all the purchases that I've made on Amazon. It's a quick reference guide for me, but for the DIYer, this is something that's really going to help you save time and money. You can save money by making sure you're buying stuff that I use and you don't have to vet yourself. And then you can save time because the list is completely organized for you. All the electrical stuff, fasteners, hardware, insulation, roofing, security, solar, and most importantly, tools. I haven't added the Milwaukee on there yet. I need to clean it up, as you guys saw earlier today, but stuff like that will be on the list. There's over 250 items on this list. It consistently grows, so it gets bigger over time as we add things. And I think it's a great addition to having your back pocket as you're building your own van build out. It's completely free. All you have to do is put your name and email address. It'll come directly to your inbox. You can go to vanbuilderhq.com, or you can click on the link in the description below to get your free DIY van build cheat sheet. All right, that is it for this quick lunch stream. We'll come back later and we'll go through gluing in the other two pieces. So I'll probably actually just do that front piece if I do that fix. But yeah, look forward to another live stream later tonight, and we'll talk to you guys very soon.